Hello students. Today I'll be having a brief discussion on C language. Now, what is C language? C language was the first computer language that was developed. Way back in the year 1964, C language was developed in USA. And it was the first language for computer. Thereafter, all the languages that have come, like Java, C#, PHP, Python, Ruby on Rails, all these languages has been derived from C. So therefore, C is called the mother of all languages. So the properties, the logic that you have in C, you will find it common across all other programming languages. Let us take, for example, the concept of variable in C. Now, the concept of variable in C remains unchanged. So whether you learn Java or C# or PHP or Python or Ruby on Rails, the concept of variable remains unchanged. What changes is the syntax. Now, in a programming languages, there are two aspects. One is the syntax and another is the logic. Now, what is syntax? Syntax is how you write the program, how you code the program. That is the syntax. And logic is the concept. So the concept will remain unchanged across all programming languages. Only the syntax will vary from program to program. So therefore, the variable concept in C, you will find it similar in Java, in C#, in PHP, in Python, in Ruby on Rails. But how you write, how you define a variable, the syntax will change. In C, we write the variable in a certain way. In Java, it is written in a different way. In PHP, it is written in a different way. In Python, it is written in a different way. And Ruby on Rails, it is written in a different way. So syntax will vary from program to program, but the concept will remain the same, the logic. So if you start with C, the benefit you get is that if you start learning programming with C, the benefit you get is that all the concepts that you will be learning in C, you'll find it common. You don't have to again relearn those concepts. Only the syntax part you have to learn. So syntax learning is not a big deal. Syntax, if you practice for a few days, you'll be able to pick up how to write the syntax. That's not a big deal. The concept, the logic is the main thing. So therefore, C can be called the mother of all languages. because all the languages that are there, computer languages, they have been basically derived from C. Okay, now let's see a demonstration how the C language is written. So I'm sharing the screen now. Now for C, you need a compiler. Now what is a compiler? Compiler is a software which takes the data from the coder, processes it and gives the output. So that is a compiler. And for executing a C program, you need a compiler. So compiler will take the code from the coder, process the code, and give the output. Now there are many compiler softwares available in the market, like Turbo C, Pure C, but most of them are premium softwares, means you have to pay for them. They're not free. So they may run for 15 days or so as a trial version, and after that they will stop. And you have to pay to continue running those compilers. But I'll give you a particular compiler which is free, legally free. You can download from the net, install it, and use it forever. And name of that compiler is devc++. This is the compiler, as you can see here, devc++. So what do? You go to Google and search. Now devc++, there are different versions of devc++. Now you'll find this 5.11 version. That is the latest version. I'll suggest you don't download this version because this version is not stable. So there are many bugs in this particular version, and it is still in beta format. So download the version that is just prior to 5.11. That is your 4.9.2, this version. Okay. So this version is a stable version, and you can install it and safely run it as long as you want it. So click on this and you'll get the link. So download it. So when you click on this, you start downloading. So you download it on your system, the setup file, and then after downloading the setup file, install it. And once that is installed, it's very easy to install. And once that is installed, you'll get an icon on your desktop like this. So click on this. And devc++ will open. Now this is the devc++. So what you do, you go to File, create a new file, and source file. So this is where you write your program. Okay. Now how do you write the C program? Now see. So first line will be written as this, #include. stdio.h. Now this is called the header. C header. Header, header. Now this header line has to be compulsorily written at the very top of every C program. So if the header line is not specified at the very top, then it will not be able to interact with the C library. There is a library in C where this stdio.h has been defined. What is stdio.h? std stands for standard, I is input, and O is output. So standard input output .h, h is header. So this header line stdio.h is defined in C library. So if this line is not mentioned at the top, the C program will not be able to interact with the C library and your program will not get executed. So this line is very important. After this comes the int main function. What is function? Function is a vast chapter in C. So we'll come to that later and do extensively the function chapter. But for the time being, just understand the function is created to execute a particular task. So if you want to execute a particular task, create a function. So this int main is called the main function. That is also standard, just like input output here. Now your function is starting here. So this is the starting point, opening bracket, and this is the closing bracket. And in between, you have to write your program. So what is the first thing we'll do? We'll print. So I'll say print F. What I want to print? I want to print, suppose, hello world. So printf. What is printf? Printf is the command by which you display the output of the program. So this the printf is the program to display the output. Now what output I want hello world. This is the output I want. So I'll put this in double quotes. And at the end of it, I'll give a semicolon. Semicolon means end of the argument. Now, if you have noticed, see, I have not given any semicolon here. Because if I have given a semicolon here, that means when I start the main function, I'm ending it. It's not logical. So your main function starts here. So there will be no semicolon here, without semicolon. And this is the opening bracket. And this is the closing bracket. And inside this, I write printf. And I want to display some output. What I want to display, that I will give in double quote, hello world. And at the end, I'll give a semicolon. Semicolon means here I'm ending the argument. That's the meaning of semicolon. And after that, what I do, I'll say return 0. I'm returning 0 here. So this is the most basic and elementary C language program that you can see. So I repeat, first what you need to do, you have to mention the header line. That is hash include stdio.h. Now don't think it's studio. It is std, not studio. stdio.h. This is the header. After that will come my main function. So int main. Now function always comes with double bracket. So you can figure out this is a function. So my function starts here, and inside the function, what I do, I give the command printf. So what I want in printf, I want to display some output. And what output I want to display? Hello world. So I give that in double quote. And at the end of it, I give a semicolon. That means my argument ends here. And then finally, I give return 0. So this is the most elementary programming program that you can write in C. Now, after writing the program, what do? You have to save the file. So I go to File again, I do Save As, and I say give a file name. Any file name you can give. There is no restriction in that. You give any file name. But after giving the file name, you have to specify what is the file type. File type extension you have to give. And so you have to give file name .c. So unless you specify the file name extension, what type of file it is not complete. Because if you just give the file name, it will be saved as a text file and it will not get compiled by the C compiler. So in order to compile the program in C compiler, you have to define what type of file it is. So it is a C file. So give .c. So file name .c and then save it. After saving this, what do? You have to compile it. So this is the compiling button. So click on the compiler button and you'll get the output. Hello world. So this black window I can see, this is the output window that will give the output. So it will process the code here and give the output. So again, if you click here, it will process the code and give the output. So this way you execute a C program. Now let's go a little deeper into this. So we create a new file again. Std io.h int main. Now we'll see what is a variable. What is a variable? Let us understand what is a variable. Variable is created and used to store data values. So variable acts like a container where data values can be stored. So you create a variable. So when you create a variable, what you do? You are creating a store. You are creating a container where to store some data values. So variable acts like a container where data values can be stored. Now, before you define the data variable, you need to understand the data types. Data types in C. So in C, there are three main data types. One is integer. Integer means whole numbers. Example, 20, 10, 14, 45, whole numbers. Those are integers. After that, you have float. Float means decimal numbers. Decimal values means 34.5, 67.8, 87.23 decimal values. They are called float. So first is integer, means whole numbers. And then you have float, decimal values. And lastly, you have characters. Characters. Characters means alphanumeric values like A2, B7, they're characters. And then you have composite data type. Those are called strings. String means what? String is a collection of alphanumeric characters. So string is a collection of alphanumeric characters. For example, hello world. Then hello 40. So they are strings. It's a collection of alphanumeric characters. So character is only one character. A, B, X, Y, Z. Those are characters. And string is a composite data type. Is a collection of alphanumeric characters. Right? Now there is a relation between data type and how you write the program. So if your data type is integer, then it will be in programming language you have to write syntax %d. If it is float, it is %f. If it is characters, it's %c. Right? So integer is %d, float is %f, and c is character is %c. Now coming back to a program. Now suppose you want to define a variable. So what do you do before you define a variable? You have to ascertain what is the data type. What type of data you want to store in that C variable, in that particular variable. So if I want to store numbers, integers, whole numbers, then what I do, I'll give int. And then I give a name. Suppose I give the name num. So in this way, I create a variable. So define the data type first as int, and then the name of the variable. Name of the variable, you can give anything. But what data type it is, that you have to specify correctly. Whether it is integer or float or character. Right? So if it is float, you have to give float. And if it is a character, you have to give C. car, not C, car. That way. But since in our case is a number, so I'll give int. So this is my data type, and this is the variable name. So I define this variable in this way, and then I give a semicolon. Then what I want, now suppose I want to display on the computer screen. So I say printf. I'm asking the user to enter a number. So I'm asking the user to enter a random number. So whatever random number is entered by the user, the compiler will process the data and give the number, what number has been given by the user. So that is it. So I'm asking the user to enter any random number, and based on that, the compiler will compile it and give the output, the same number. So printf, I want to display this to the user. So enter a number. I'm asking the user to enter a number. So that is printf. Then what I do? I have to say scanf. Scanf means whatever, where I want to store the data. Now the number, I am asking the user to enter a number. So when the user enters the number, that number has to be stored somewhere. Where it is to be stored? It has to be stored in the variable. So how do you store that number in that variable? By the help of scanf. So the command here is scanf. So we'll take the input and store in the variable using the scanf command. So how do we do that? Now, since it is integer, that means I'll be using %d. Okay. So here I say, within double quote, I'll give %d, comma, and ampersand, the name of the variable. What is the variable name? Num. So in this way, what I do, I write the syntax for storing the data in this particular variable called num. So for that, I'm using the scanf command, scanf. So since the data type is integer, I've given %d within double quote, then comma, and ampersand. This is called ampersand. Okay. The word is ampersand. This is the word. Ampersand, and I call the name of the variable here. So in this way, whatever number, random number is entered by the user, that number is stored in this particular variable using the scanf command in this manner. Now, after the number is stored, what it will do? The processor will now display the number again back. So again, I give printf. So I'll say the number is, then outside the double quote, I'll give a comma and give the variable name. This is num. So what I do first, I'm creating a variable, and then I'm asking the user to enter a random number, which I don't know what number is to be entered by the user. So whatever number is entered by the user, so using scanf, I'll store that number in this particular variable that I've created using scanf. So I give %d because the data type is int, and comma within double quote %d, comma, and ampersand, and the name of the variable comes here. So in this way, I'm storing that number in this particular variable. After storing the number, what it will do? It will now again display back the number. The number is, what is the number? So again, so I give printf, I have to display it. So I give printf, the number is, comma, and here I have to just call the variable name num. So as you can see here, I'm not given ampersand name. I've given just the variable name. Ampersand num will come only for scanf, not here. Here you have to give only the variable name that you want to display. For storing, you give ampersand now, the storing the input. And for displaying again, you give only the variable name, not ampersand. So this way you write the program. And then at the end of it, you can say return 0. That's it. Now save this program. So I give scanf. And if I want to give a scanf, and you have to give the file name extension compulsorily, to give .c, that is to be given. And then save it. After saving it, you see your file is saved as scan_f.c. Now you have to compile it. So it is asking me as the user to enter a particular number. So I'll enter any random number. Suppose I enter 78. So it's not displaying the number. Such a number is, I made a mistake, small mistake over here. Number is, you have to give %d. So you have to calling that number, and that number is %d again because it is an integer, right? And then compile it. So it is asking a number. So if I give the number 78, so it's displaying the number 78, right? So whatever random number I enter, it will display that. Okay. Now suppose I give another number, any random number you can enter. Suppose I enter 57, I'll give the number 57. So basically what it is doing, it is taking the number from the user, any random number, and it is storing in this variable with the help of scanf, and again printing back that number. So this is how you write the program. So in a way, you can say scanf is just the opposite of printf. Printf is to display the output, and scanf is used to take the input and store in a variable. Printf and scanf, opposite to each other. Correct? Okay. Now let's go a little more deeper into this. Suppose we will take two numbers from the user and add up the numbers. Okay. Writing a program in C. So first line first, we'll say hash include stdio.h. So I give int main. And then, so how many variables you have to create now? So I want two numbers from the user, and I'll add up the two numbers and give the output. So how many variables do I require? Now remember, in one variable, you can store only one value. You cannot store more than one value in a variable. Okay. So one variable for one value. So if I want two numbers, obviously I have to create two variables. So I say int num1. And then I create another variable int num2. So these two variables I've created. Now when I take these two variables and add up the two numbers, what will happen? It will create a new number. Now that new number has to be stored somewhere. Where do you store it? For that new number, you have to create another variable. So let's create another variable int, say sum. So as I said, you can give any name to the variable, but the data type has to be correctly mentioned. Int. Okay. Now what I do? First, I'll take the two numbers from the user. So I give printf, enter a number, then I give scanf. So user enters the number. So using scanf, I'll store that number in that particular variable. So in scan, I'll do scanf and then give %d, comma, ampersand, where I want to store that number in the variable num1. So I give num1, ampersand num1. So the user enters the number and that number is stored in this num1 variable using scanf. Now I'll take the second number. Again printf, enter the second number. Again scanf. In the same way fashion, we'll store the second number in the second variable. So again, I'll do in double quote, I'll give %d, comma, ampersand num2. So I've taken these two numbers and stored them in respective variables, num1 and num2. Now what I'll do, I'll call the third variable, that is sum. Now what is sum? What is the formula? Sum equal to num1 plus num2. That's the formula. Now again, I want to display that sum. So what I do again printf to display it. I give printf again. So I'll write the sentence, the sum of the two numbers is, so I give again %d, comma, and here I'll not give ampersand, I'll give only sum because I want to display the sum of the two numbers. So I give the sum variable here, right? And semicolon. That's it. And say return, and finally you can say return 0. So this is my program. So what I've done, I've taken two numbers, int num1 and int num2 for the two numbers, and after adding the two numbers, it will form a new number. And for storing the new number, I create another variable called sum. And then I take the numbers from the user one by one. So first I give printf, enter a number. User enters that number. And that number will be stored in the variable num1 using scanf, right? Then I take the second number, and that number will be stored in the second variable, that is num2 using scanf. Then I want to add up the two numbers. And where do I want to store the number? I want to store it in the sum variable. So I say sum equal to num1 plus num2. That's the formula. And after adding it, I want to again present the output. So again, I give printf. The sum of the two numbers is, now is a integer, so I give %d again. And I call this variable name sum. That's it, because I want to display the sum. The sum variable is called here. And finally, I give return 0. So this is how I write the program for adding the two numbers. Now save it. Gives, say, sum.c. So that is my program. And then I compile it. So in the compiler, you see it is asking for the number. So I give suppose 26. Enter second number. Suppose I give 59. Random numbers. So it will add up these two numbers. The sum of the two numbers is, it will add up the two numbers 26 and 59 and give the output 85. Right. So this is how the programming is executed. Correct? Pretty simple. Now this thing can be written in a shorter way. This is a long process. It can be shortened. You don't have to write so much of code. How to do that? Let's see. So I give save as, again I say the file. I change the file name, .c. Now what I'll do here, now since all the variables are integers, so I don't have to necessarily write int num1, int num2, int sum. I don't need to do that. I can do it, but it is a long process. If I want to shorten it, what I can do? I can call this int num2 here. Just give a comma. And this also you can call it here. So give int, define the data type only once, so don't have to define the data type again and again. Int, you don't have to do it. Just define the data type as int, because the data type of all the three variables is common, that is int. So I give int, the num1, comma, num2, and sum. That's it. I don't have to give int num1, int num2, int num. No, that's not required. So int, data type is int, common data type is int. So I give int here and then I specify the variable names. This is the first step you can do. And then what you can do, you can give printf, enter the numbers. All the numbers you can take one by one. Enter the numbers. So all the numbers you can enter one by one. And those numbers will be stored in the respective variables, num1, num2, and num3, and sum. So how to do it? I give scanf. Now if I give %d, that means it is only for one variable. But there are two variables here, because I'm taking the two numbers from the user. So how many %d I have to give? I have to give 2 %d. So 1% d is for num1, and the %d is for num2. 2 %d without any comma, nothing, within double quote. Then at the end you give a comma and ampersand num1 and comma ampersand num2. So this way you can write. That will shorten the code, volume of code. So here I create one data type int, because all the three variables have the common data type int. So I give int num1, num2, and sum. Then I ask the user to enter the two numbers, enter the numbers, and since now 1% d is for num1 and the %d is for num2. So scanf %d. If there are three numbers, %d, %d, that way. Then comma, then ampersand num1 and ampersand num2. So whatever numbers are entered here by the user, that will be stored in these particular variables, num1 and num2, using scanf. And for that I need 2 %d, because they are taking two numbers from the user. And then I want to display. So this part I can delete it off. I don't need this part. Then I want to display the sum. So I'll give the formula sum equal to num1 plus num2. And then I say print of sum of two numbers is %d, it will remain the same. Now let's save it and compile it. So enter the numbers. I'll give 23, given space, no comma, only space, and 54. So we'll add up the two numbers and give the output. 23 and 54, totally 77. So this way, you can add it. So this is the shorter method. If you want to go by long method, go by it, no problem. But that will increase the volume of code. You have to unnecessarily write a lot of things. But this is a shorter method. Clear? So this way you write the C program. Now there are many things after this. So one by one, we'll do that. So as for the demonstration, I'm ending it here today. And if you have any queries, any doubts, you can ping me on WhatsApp and we'll sort it out. So watch the demo and revert to me. Thank you.